Mozambique's opposition presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane, who is the leader of the main opposition party, Podemos, or the Optimist Party for the Development of Mozambique, who left the country in late October and has been commanding protests from outside, has asked supporters to greet him when he returns home on Thursday. Mondlane told his supporters via Facebook Live broadcast on Monday. Mozambique has been gripped by violent protests for nearly 2 months since the Electoral Authority declared 47-year-old Daniel Chapo of the ruling Frelimo the winner of the October 9 presidential elections, with defeating Mondlane. Last month, Mondlane said he would install himself as president on January 15, the same day President-elect Daniel Chapo will be inaugurated. To discuss this, we're joined by Director of the Center for Democracy and Human Rights, Adriano Nuvunga. Thank you so much, Mr. Nuvunga, for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, given the opposition leader's declaration to return from exile and self-inaugurate, what implications do you see this having on the unity and strategy of the opposition parties in Mozambique?
Well, indeed, the promise to take the oath of office by presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane is still there. He's coming back on Thursday. He informed the public the day before yesterday, and people are in expectation to see what is going to happen. And of course, they are now split within the opposition camp. We see the political party Podemos that was supporting his candidacy moving away from presidential candidate. They will take their seats in parliament, and which seems to be a growing movement towards isolation of presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane. We are yet to see what is going to happen when he arrives on Thursday, whether that will ignite a new momentum on his camp, on his supporters. That is not yet clear. But what I can say at the moment is, regardless of the split that I've mentioned here, it appears that the supporters, they are very much with the presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane rather than with Podemos. But of course, this is a major blow for the opposition, which is split right at the beginning of a new 5-year term, which weakens our democracy, weakens our mechanisms of participation. But we are yet to see what's going to happen in terms of facts.
Well, you talked about a shift and a split, rather, in the opposition's voice. And the protests seem to have also lost momentum in the last few days that we've seen. Will that, in a way, whittle down the influence of the opposition in the coming months?
No doubt that is going to influence negatively the outlook of the opposition and the possibility of having an impact in governance. The split that we see today, it also weakens the momentum that the opposition was having vis-a-vis the capacity to mobilize the people to go to the street as a pressure for the electoral authorities to take a different route, but also a pressure on the government itself to come to a negotiation or dialogue table. We don't see that happening. And it seems that the split in the opposition will further weaken the capacity of the opposition to get something significant out of all these momentum that has been created through the post-election crisis and violence. So we risk losing this crisis to set things right. The split of the opposition, of course, it will impact the likelihood of us as society, as a country, to use this crisis for something good in terms of quality of governance, in terms of quality of democracy, but also in terms of quality of growth and the likelihood of that being shared with the widespread sectors of society.
So if there's no possibility of a dialogue and the opposition leader goes ahead to eventually self-inaugurate, would you be expecting probably some of the African countries to intervene as middlemen in this matter if there can't be some sort of a consensus within the parties in the country?
Well, we have talked about the regional involvement since the beginning, you will recall. And we hear that SADC is coming, that there was a dedicated meeting of the SADC on Mozambique, but it is a very low profile. It is really small compared to the magnitude of the problem. We don't see a region that is highly mobilized to discuss and to help Mozambique find a solution. We are still in the same mood of our regional bloc here, SADC, to say Mozambique is a sovereign state, despite the fact that the crisis is affecting massively the region, is affecting South Africa, is affecting Malawi, affecting Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Zambia, including Namibia in terms of trade, in terms of movement of people and goods. But look at the issue of human rights. Look at the issue of the people that are being murdered. When you have a region where one of the member states that calls itself a democracy, but human rights are being grossly violated, people are being killed without accountability, that should have encouraged regional blocs to intervene at the early stage. But we haven't seen that. And it seems that, unfortunately, our region and the regional institutions are not up for the job.
Finally, before I let you go, if Mondlane returns to the country, is there a possibility that he could be arrested because he's being perceived as the enemy of the state?
Well, we don't know the capacity in which he's returning. He left, he was not an exiled. That was a self-imposed exile, considering the fact that his life was in danger. But he has conducted a number of activities from outside, and some of those activities led the government to initiate some criminal proceedings. So it is not yet clear what is going to happen. A few weeks ago, the chief of the Supreme Court came to say Mondlane is a free man, he is a free candidate, he will not be arrested on arrival. So there is expectation that he will be let free. He's a political candidate. I think he enjoys some immunities for being a presidential candidate. And as a democracy, candidates are to be allowed to freely circulate so that they can do politics, of course, obeying the rules of that particular country and society. But post-election protests, even in the form of violent protests, we have seen across the globe.
All right, Adriano Nuvunga, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much.